But speaking of the U.S. market, as of now, 44% of all users, all mobile users, have a smartphone. It's a 46% saturation rate in Europe, and about the same in Canada. And the numbers are all kind of all over the place as you get into Asia. There's just there's some really big numbers, and I'm a little bit afraid of those numbers. So I'm not sure if that's. I hope that's true, because they're definitely trendsetters, and it's easy for us to see how we're moving that direction very quickly. It'd be very hard pressed to walk into an AT&T store and find a flip phone for sale. Be a challenge. So this smartphone craze is moving that way, and we're getting 4G and LTE and all these things so that they can handle the support, so that they can handle the data. Voice stuff, they've got that down, that's no problem. But now they're worried about how they're going to handle all this data and do it at a faster rate. So you can see from the graphic there, 210 million smartphone users as of now, and these numbers are expected in the U.S. to increase in the next 2 years to somewhere estimates are somewhere between 75 to 80, 45% saturation in the next 2 years. And that's it's like when cell phones came to be, and then the flip phone came out, and everybody thought they had to have a flip phone. The old StarTech, I don't know if you guys remember that phone, but it was like, God, that guy had that phone, and then the Razor came out, and they have some of these crazes that have come about in this industry, and smartphone is one of the fastest movers. This graphic was shown a little earlier as well, but we watch these things very closely as a mobile app developer, simply because I'm interested in how people use those devices. Once they have them, that's great, but I want to know how they use them. I want to know what the habits are and how the habits are changing. And this graphic, one of the interesting things that I found in this graphic was the 72 minutes that were measured or that were averaged in December. That includes desktop browsing. So that's not just phone browsing, that's desktop and phone browsing in 72 minutes. So you can see, and in the next slide I'll show you, just how different it's getting. And my feeble mind says that that's because it's becoming a much more personal experience on the phone. But maybe I'm sure. What do you guys think? Are there things that you find in your phone why you don't use your browser or when you do use your browser?
Well, you have 4 people in the house and 1 computer, but they all got smartphones. That's how it happens.
Okay. Yeah. Access to the device.
I think I mainly use. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just going to say that I think I mainly use our apps when I want more of an ease. The experience is more easy to use. It's more usable. I think I want to use the web on my phone and I don't want to download an app that I don't read.
Okay.
I think the phone is more personal, so you can, when you have a mobile app, you can, customize it as you want. That on the web, it's a little bit more difficult.
What's the last app that you used? I mean, right now, as in like the last Twitter? Okay.
Facebook.
What's that? Google Maps. Is it Facebook over here? Facebook. Anything else? Twitter. A lot of social media. You don't have apps. Yeah. Social media is huge, right? Social media drives us and keeps us engaged on those phones. And when we use an app, we don't have to go to the web to log in, username, password all the time. This app it's a personal experience. We're engaged. This is our device. There are so many things that this is already doing, and so many things that people want to do for us. All the way down to being able to buy with it, wallets, all these kinds of things that are coming our way at a breakneck speed. But yeah, social media is a big one. I didn't throw the graphic into this presentation, but gaming is another big one with these smartphones. Playing these games. In fact, I always like to find out what game do you play on your phone currently. Nobody here plays Words with Friends?
No.
Guilty, there we go. Anybody else?
So stupid.
None. That's impressive. That's...
Angry Birds, not Angry Birds.
Okay, so Angry Birds, any Angry Bird players? A little bit? Jeremy play?
I used to play a lot, but I don't play anymore.
Okay. I've never played Angry Birds, so I don't understand that. I don't know. I'm not a gamer. I don't play any games on my phone actually. I've worked with friends. I've played on my iPad a little bit, but.
And there is this game also when you have a car and you need to park it pretty well. So put the car in and park the car. It's stupid, but.
So I'll have to get the name of that game. I'm sure I can write it. At any rate, we're finding ways to engage on our phones, and as we as going back just a little bit, these phones are becoming more prevalent for more owners, and I'll say my question for just a second here. Let's use this graphic really fast. So this is this on a phone. This is just on a phone. The engagement time, the average engagement time per person. You can see here that apps are used far more often than websites, or your browser, I should say. And again, coming back to the same point, it's about personal engagement. Typically, especially once we find an app, because we're different creatures of habit. If you want a restaurant, there's probably an app for that, and you probably have tested a few of them. Google Maps, we'll go right to the Maps app. Won't waste time searching it online.
Yeah. Have you found that the engagement time is higher for apps that have some kind of presence in the web also? So, say that sync with a website that has some kind of cloud functionality. Have you seen that at all?
We built a product that I'm not sure if this is down the same road as far as the ability to update. Is that what you're?
Yeah, like synchronize your data on the cloud or across multiple devices.
I would suggest, it's my opinion that it's such a fresh thing. I think for those of us that are in the room are probably used to hearing it and heard it for a long time. I think for the retail user, I think they're still kind of getting used to this ability to have all of their information accessible. The banking thing was a big thing for people, and that's still a huge movement. So they're able to check it, and as the demographics change, with people getting new phones, the single question most asked in the Spring mobile stores here locally is, "Can you help me download this bank, whatever bank it is that I'm at?" That's the first question that's most often asked. So as far as getting the photos and how they're shared everywhere in documents and some of those things, I think once they find out they can, I think people are excited. But I think there's still the developers are all the way up here, and the crowd is still trying to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I just have a question on the data. So here we have that's 4.2 minutes on engagement and 0.9 minutes, but what is that taking into account? Like the different apps that I use in a day, or because if you take the amount of websites that you can visit in a certain day, there's probably tons of websites, and you just go really fast and you close it, but you're still interacting with a computer in a browser. Mm-hmm. And apps, as I understand it, I don't spend 4 minutes using an app. It's usually 10 seconds, and I close it and do something else. Then I go and use it again. So it's shorter periods of time, but probably spend more time on my computer than on that phone.
And this data suggests websites visited on your phone. So this is all just phone data.
Okay.
So this takes the previous slide had added in the web browser on your desktop, let's say, as well. This is just your phone. So this is suggesting that yes, and maybe even to that question as well. There who knows? I don't know how many websites out there, but and then as far as the apps go, I have a hard time with some of this data, and I try to preface this by saying 4.2 minutes is. Consider your top 3 apps that you look at every day. If you had to categorize them, or if you had to rank them, what would be 1, 2, and 3? I'm going to bet that somewhere in there, at least according to the data that's out there, one of them is news, one of them is social media, and then there's a third that would be called gaming. But I don't, because I don't game, I don't know what I buy into that yet. And think about that from a personal standpoint. Now, from a website, I wouldn't go to a website to do any one of those things on my phone. I don't want to pinch and zoom and slide around on a CNN site or on a Fox site or whatever.
Yeah, and that was my second question. Like with the fact that most websites don't have a very good mobile site, part of the reason why. So if I go to a website, it's just a normal website that I have to zoom in, I'll leave it immediately, but if they have a good mobile experience, I'll probably stay.
Sure, absolutely. And I think I'd be the same way. I found myself, because I don't like to pinch and zoom, I think it's a great way to sit swimming around on the website on my phone. I find myself actually searching for the app if I really think I need to look at something. Part of it, if I want to, now I'm at the point where if I want the news, I'll just go to the CNN. Now I'll go to the CNN page. If I want to know about the weather, I've got an app for that too. If I want, as far as the news goes, I've got that all taken care of in apps now. And even before, when there were fewer apps, a lot of these large companies have come out with their apps first. So that's what made it so inviting to me, is that I can have all that access with one touch, as opposed to, even on a favorite situation, touch there and then zoom around and all that kind of stuff. So for me personally, this makes the time spent makes sense to me. In fact, I would exclude even more. But from what's suggested, I think that the top 3 app situation. Personally, I don't care. I find myself on Facebook like once or twice a day, just checking the app if I'm waiting in line or sitting in the car or something, just passing the time. But I'm probably more news, more I'm watching the news and that kind of stuff myself. It's reported that we look at our phones on average 150 times a day, and the goal for any business would be to take a chunk of it 150 times. If I was a business, I want I have the opportunity to get them looking at me. I want them looking at me 150 of those 150 times.